Do smaller and more frequent learning sessions help you pick up skills faster? And can we use this concept to help people build resilient skills more effectively? My name is Yuri Rosso. These are the questions that we investigated through this research. I'm going to take you through what we did and the results that we found. So a quick bit on the background about why we did this research. Essentially, we're looking at mental health here. We've got around 300 million people struggling with depression around the world, and it's only getting worse. So the reality is we need better preventative methods to be able to do something about this more proactively. One of the ways we can do this is through digital conversational agents using artificial intelligence. This way we can reach more people at scale. So we wanted to understand, is there a neurobiological mechanism through which smaller tasks delivered through a digital agent can help people learn these skills better? And by constructing a program called Driven, we can then test this concept out and see if it really enables behavioral change. So what we did is to first create Driven as an automated intervention program, and then by using the predictive 6-factor resilience scale, we did a pre and post-intervention assessment to be able to see in a longitudinal format, does this really result in actual change that is meaningful to us? So this is a real-world application where we applied this in 4 different organizations across around 400 people, and this really allowed us to see what's the actual impact of this program. Now, quick bit of background on learning itself and plasticity. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into this diagram here. Feel free to read the research paper for more. But essentially, we compared extended session learning versus more frequent micro-session learning to see what's the change when we look from behavior down into the processing centers, going down into the cognitive networks that we actually want to strengthen. From there, we go down further into the actual neural change that happens. So this is structural plasticity that we're talking about, which is synaptic changes within the neural structures. And these synaptic changes is what essentially that enables you to think differently. It builds new beliefs, builds new skills, and it enables behavioral change. So what we see from when we look into more frequent micro-session learning is that there are a lot of different mechanisms through which we can increase learning. And some of these include frequency-dependent plasticity, spike timing-dependent plasticity, which is the Hebbian concept, which essentially is enhanced by doing tasks and learning at a more frequent pace. There are even things like eating, exercising, and resting in between sessions, which increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which further increases the rate of neural change. And we also see new concepts such as increased spontaneous exocytosis, which causes complexin phosphorylation in the snare complex, which then enables a whole lot of processes that creates new synaptic boutons that then create more change over time. So the interesting part about this here, and especially the increase in spontaneous exocytosis, is that this happens after you've activated that neural pathway. Then this change continues to happen, even after you've stopped doing that activity. So this concept is in a way similar to high-intensity interval training, where you do a whole bunch of exercise really intensely for a short amount of time, and then once you've stopped, your metabolism stays higher and you keep burning fat. So in a way, this is like high-intensity interval training for the brain, where you learn a task really quickly in smaller sessions, and the brain keeps creating those synaptic changes after you've stopped. So how does this translate, and what's a way to think about this? Well, the simple way to think about it is, if you're practicing to play the piano, if you spend 1 hour each day learning, that adds up to more than spending 7 hours on the weekend learning. Even though you're spending exactly the same amount of time, you end up learning more, and there's more neural change that happens if you break it up into smaller tasks. So really interesting concept. Of course, this is a highly complex process, of learning and change in the brain. So this is just a very conceptual diagram of some of the methods that can enable increased learning by using this concept. So this just allows us to see that there are neural mechanisms that enables this concept to function. So testing this concept out, we go into the actual results. We had around 89% participation in this program, and we saw a very simple result, which is essentially the more you use Driven, the more of those microtasks you complete, the greater the improvement in resilience. And we saw around 25% improvement in resilience if you use this at a high level. And what was also really interesting is that a lower pre-assessment score resulted in higher participation and higher subsequent improvement. So let's just talk about this a little bit more, because this is really interesting. So over here we can see that people who didn't really use Driven didn't really increase their resilience, but then those who use Driven on a more regular basis saw much higher improvement over time. And what's interesting here is this downward trend over here, where we can see the starting scores were of people who were lower initially were the ones that then used Driven more. So essentially what this means is that people who really need to build resilience are the ones who recognize that through the program, and that then motivates them to actually complete more of the microtasks and therefore improve their resilience more. So really what it comes down to is we have the ability to help the people who really need help, and Driven essentially gives them the impetus and the program to put that into action and to actually achieve that change and help people help themselves. So a couple of other things here when we look at the actual domains that we improved. So one of the biggest ones were composure, which is helping people build stress management skills. Another big one was vision, which is helping people achieve a sense of purpose and meaning in life and have help them build new goals to work towards. And then we also had health, which was a big one, helping people build healthier sleeping patterns, eating more healthy food, and exercising more regularly. Essentially, the conclusion that we got to was that microtasks does indeed help people achieve more behavioral change. The more of those microtasks you complete, the more you stimulate those neural pathways, the more it results in long-term behavioral change. So this is over a period of around 6 to 7 months that we saw this change. So we're really seeing lasting uptake, lasting usage, lasting behavioral change. Really important. And then, of course, we've got a simple conclusion where we can see that Driven does actually help people to build resilience, and using this conversational agent as an approach is a very useful way to especially help people who are really in need of help and who can recognize through the program that, hey, I can be better, I can do things, I can learn new skills, and I can achieve more out of life. So, of course, there's a lot more research that we need to do around this. This is essentially a longitudinal pilot study, so there's more that we need to test around this, but it's essentially interesting to see that there is a neurobiological mechanism through which this concept of microtasks can work, and it gives us the platform on which we can build future research and keep improving the program over time. So that's a quick overview of the research that we did here. I invite you to read the research paper, and please get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.